You know that feeling when you walk into a gun shop or a gun auction or a gun collection and there's just one gun that jumps out at you and says, "Pick me"? Well, for me at the Holtz Sealed Bid July 2022 sale, this is that gun. This is a Remington 3200 Special Trap in extraordinary condition. So this is lot 5107. It is a special trap. It's a 1974 gun. You know, that's quite a long time ago, certainly to a nipper like me. And it is in extremely good condition. Most of the 3200s I have ever seen, you know, they're trap and skeet guns. They've been used really very, very hard. So it's a really rare opportunity to play with one. Let's have a look over it and talk about it a bit, I suppose. You have a 14.5 inch stock, including an inch original ventilated pad. It's got a Monte Carlo comb. Being a 1974 flat trap gun, it's not a particularly high comb. For me, I find this gun would shoot quite flat, but that doesn't matter. You're probably not buying this gun to shoot it. This is a collectible piece and enjoyment to use sort of gun. It has the upgraded wood, so you have actually got some figuring in there. The basic version did not have that. The Remington 3200 came out in 1973. The original Remington was based on the original Remington 32, which obviously came out in 1932. Makes sense, right? That ceased production with the war, and then they picked it up in 1973, as I said, made the 3200. Instead of the handmade 32 or the mostly hand-finished 32, this is very much a machine-made gun, and as we'll go through and have a look, it's not refined. It's not particularly refined. This gun, brand new, was $680. It was only made as a model for 9 years. 9 years. In fact, I think it was in the catalogue just about for 10 years, but in the 1983, it's just a footnote, so I presume they were clearing stock, which is sad. There's a lot of reasons why people say that they stop making them, but the reason I have seen most companies stop making things is because they either cease to sell or they're not profitable to make. And you know, this is the sort of gun that will last a lifetime. So yeah, there's a difficulty there. Let's go on from the stock. The action, you'll be very familiar with this action. Everyone will say this is basically a Krieghoff, but we're going to go into this in a minute and perhaps show you why it's not. There are obvious similarities in the base of the design and the lockup, meaning you have this large slide cover that goes over the top of the action. It's a great design. Lots of people have used this over the course of history. Remington 3200 model is just one of those guns. Although obviously Remington came up with the concept with the 32, so is it theirs? I think Krieghoff probably own it now, in terms of if you look at this gun, most people would say that's a Krieghoff, not that's a Remington 32. The action itself is black. You have the 3 pin ends here, and you have the wreath with a pointer in the middle rolled into it. You know, it's not going to win any prizes for engraving quality, but that's not the point. It's just a mild adornment. The fore end is a beaver tail and is released. By the way, the wood's lacquered, just so you know. I probably should have said that, but I'm guessing from the extreme glare from our light, you've probably guessed that already. The fore end is released by this catch, and it's interesting to note that the actual fore end iron itself is stamped, sort of. Stamped and then riveted onto the machined back end. Yeah, the stamped fore end doesn't do anything for me. It's about one of the only things that really cheapens this gun. It doesn't feel great, but again, probably with some lubrication and a bit of love, you could cheat your way out of that. I love the way that this gun locks up progressively. So even the fore end catch has a taper to it, so it's never going to wear out. The way that it locks up with the hood there, or the shroud, has a taper to it, so it's never going to wear out. As you shoot it, it will progressively get closer. And one of the good things about these guns, if you will, is even if they are off face, it's an entirely sealed unit around the back of the action. And as such, you'll get no gases, no blasting. If you pierce a primer, it's an entirely sealed affair. It's kind of cool. Handles recoil, handles age really well. It's different. I hesitate to say that it's a good way of hiding a bad sort of joint, because that sounds, I don't know, underhanded. That's not what I mean here, but it's a good solid way of building a gun, the hood. It's just inherently looks a bit different. It's not as sleek perhaps as some of the other designs. The loop on the bottom is silver soldered on, and whilst we're talking about it, let's talk about the barrels. It is a monoblock design. The 2 hooks are cut into the monoblock and they rotate around. the two trunnions on the side of the action there. The ejectors, and this is one of those things that when you pick up a 3200, you go, oh yeah, this wasn't built to the same standard as a modern K80. Everything about it is a little bit more rattly, the ejectors and so on and so forth. However, when it's closed and it does handle and point very well. You're not really concerned. It's a bit like when you pick up a rifle and you open the bolt and you give it a shake and you go, and you go, but it doesn't really matter, does it? How often are you going to sit here going, I mean, probably quite often. You have a step-up rib, cross machined with then straight machining down the end, double bead sight, full and 3/4 chokes, 30-inch barrels. It's the Remington 32 that obviously first came up with the barrel hanger concept with the bridge in the middle. The two tubes are silver soldered into the monoblock. You have a supporting bridge in the middle, and you have a barrel hanger at the end. One presumes, much like most barrel hanger guns, that could be changed to alter your point of impact. I just can't get over the design of that fore-end loop. This is all, crude is the wrong word, it's just large. The barrels are bored 729 in each. They are branded special trap full and improved mod, 2 3/4 or shorter shells only, and it was then British proofed obviously on the top for 2 3/4, 3 1/4 tons. On the base of the action you have Remington 3200. OU 17941. I love the fact that the serial numbers start with OU for over and under. The woodwork is in extremely good original condition. There's a couple of little marks around the wood, but we're talking very, very slight. And I did forget to mention, you've got a little plastic grip cap as well. All right, let's take the stock off, have a look inside this thing. So if we put the stock bolt out of the back and the ventilated pad off, we pull the action out of the woodwork. Interestingly, it's actually got a bit of bedding compound at the back of the stock there, meaning that this stock is headed up off of the front of the stock and this little lug at the back as opposed to the ends of the tanks. The inside of the action is, and I don't mean any offense to the Remington fan club here, is a little bit crude. It's a little bit crude, a little bit robust. Certainly when everyone goes, it's basically a Krieghoff, I think that's like saying an ATA is basically a Beretta. It's not. It is a different system. Let's go with that. It's a very different system. The safety catch, however, with the selector is a thing of beauty. Where you move it up, down, and to the side, you can actually see the internal mechanism doing exactly that. Coming to the center, and then pushing down and in, and actually rotating onto the sear. When you pull the trigger, it pivots around, pulls this down, so you're pulling down on the sear. And this gives you trigger pulls that are actually really not bad for a top seared gun, because you've got a real direct connection to the sear. It's very pleasant. If you think about that design of pulling down, most of those styles of design are kept on a trigger plate action. Just because you've got that long connector, inherently in my head, I thought that would make the trigger pulls worse, but they are fantastic. Let's just put this on the action. Man, this gun is so tidy. Still goes together like a new gun. As we cock the gun, you can see the two cocking rods pushing the hammers back into position. The mainsprings, however, are probably the most stout and robust mainsprings in the world, so they won't fail. You have two firing pins, and the firing pin length is actually, I don't know, probably like a good 1.5 inches from start to finish. As you can see, you just pop out the front. It's nice to look inside it. It's interesting to see the differences, more from my point of view, between the K80 and this, given that the K32 was made at the same time as this, and they obviously went in very different paths. All right, let's pop this back on and conclude. So for me, there's two reasons I'm attracted to this gun. Firstly, how often do you see good condition Remington 3200s? Rarely. Unmolested, good condition, used but unabused condition Remington 3200s. Very, very rarely, in the UK at least. Secondly, from a shootability standpoint, this is a 9.3 trap gun from the 1974. Strangely feels an awful lot like a modern day sporter. This gun represents a fantastic investment. As a part-time gun collector, as many of us are, you're not looking to throw money away, you're looking to lock money up in guns that you can enjoy. Certainly the ones that aren't your main guns, and this again represents a gun that will do that, providing you don't take it and rag it to pieces. The estimate on it is 150 to 250 pounds. which I think might be a bit of a mistake. This gun, I mean, if you were to put over 1,000 to 1,200 into this gun, including commission, you would not be unhappy. I was having an interesting conversation in the car the other day about this. Is a gun from a collectible standpoint is worth what it's worth to you to not have to wait for another one. And waiting for another tidy 3200 special trap, you could be here a long time.